Thursday, October 27th. And sorry, I just went live there for a second while I was figuring out where I wanted to do this. So I just, posted something, that moment. It's a picture of Doug Lambert and Timothy Lang, who's a state rep who's running for a Senate seat. That moment when you've made a deal with the devil, and it's blowing up my phone as a bomb thrower, and everyone's asking, what is the story behind that picture? Who are those people? And then I'm getting people who are affiliated with the story, who are politicians, already starting to comment. So I know it's going to run like wildfire. And quite honestly, my eyes are on Jesus, and I don't care who I call out and who I hold accountable at this point. If I go out, I'm going to go out with a blaze of glory and make sure that you all know exactly what's going on here in New Hampshire. So first and foremost, this has got to do with the story of Gunstock up in Belknap County. If you go to Granite Grok and you type in Gunstock, you can see the articles and the story and how this all played itself out, where it originated, and kind of get yourself up to speed on exactly what's happened up there in Belknap County. But I'm going to give you the quick lowdown from the way that I understand it. So basically, several years back, first of all, Belknap County residents own Gunstock Mountain. It was gifted to the citizens of Belknap in 1959. And in there, it had like all the kind of bylaws. They set it all up, how the financials, how the profits from the mountain, how it would go back to the county, how it would benefit the community. And all of that was documented. So a few years ago, from what I understand, I know it was at least before I came on the scene, there was question about the audit and the financials, and that they were truly disclosing everything that needed to be disclosed according to the sale and the deed and the transaction dated in 1959. So what I understand is that the audit was being very surface, and it wasn't showing and disclosing all the detail that the population had the right to know. So it actually went to litigation. And in litigation, it went to, instead of a lawsuit and penalizing people, they went to mediation. And part of the mediation was that they would put different people on the commission to work with the auditors for the next audit. Dr. Strang, who is an ER doctor, probably works 100 hours a week, is one of the most righteous, most integrity. He worked with me all through the pandemic. I'd have people call me up and say, hey, T, my mom's in the ICU. I need someone to help me advocate for her. I want her to make it out alive. And Dr. String was always there to pick up the phone for me. He has testified on the House floor, advocated for right to try, and just been an amazing, stellar individual. He's also the chair of the Belknap committee, Republican committee. So he's very involved also in New Hampshire politics for a very long time, but he's not a politician. And he said, I will sit on the commission and help with the audit process and make sure the integrity of the numbers from Gunstock Mountain are disclosed to the public. And that's when he joined the Gunstock Commission, and I believe that was like in January of this year. They used the same audit team they've always used. They went through and they discovered, they outlined the pieces of information that had been missing in previous audits. And as they went down that track, and just so you know, Dr. Strang was somebody that I wanted to declare for governor. He was someone I wanted us to all get behind and have him be our governor. But he was like, T, I took on this position at Gunstock. I really need to focus on that. I still have a practice. I'm still working as an ER doctor. But that's how highly I think of Dr. Strang. He is just a really good man. So he was focusing on the audit. The audit discovered that there was Tom Day is the manager at Gunstock. He once worked at Waterville under Sununu. So Sununu's previous Waterville, I think he was in senior management. I think he might have managed Waterville, is now the manager, the general manager at Gunstock. They discovered right away a bunch of, I think it was hundreds of thousands of dollars paid to the attorneys to kind of hide things. And they found contributions that were made out in a check from Tom Day, the general manager, to Sununu's campaign. They were finding things that were not okay. And they asked the senior management, as most auditors would, for more documentation and backup. And some of that included emails. all of a sudden, the next thing you know, the entire senior management at Gunstock walks out. And they walk out days before this big venue called Soul Fest that happens every year up at the mountain. It's a 3-day music venue. It's contemporary Christian music that plays. My daughter and I have gone every year for the last 16 years. It's a huge event. Hundreds, I think 10,000 people come in. Huge revenue for the town, the city, the hotels, commerce. The campsites are full. The zip lines are going nonstop. The chairlift is running. And it's absolutely spectacular, healthy family time. You've got all the food vendors, and we would go up every year for 3 days. And the producer of Soulfest is actually a dear friend of mine. His name is Dan Russell. And he actually, I shepherded him through a stroke that he had. And he was the one who actually messaged me, I think it was like 2018, and said, "Are you red pilled?" And I had to go Google what red pilled meant. I didn't know what that meant. And I came back and I said, "Well, I guess I kind of am. I'm learning. I'm trying to figure out what's what and who's who." And so that just gives you an idea of who Dan Russell is. Well, long story short, you come back to Gunstock, all the senior management walks out, and they refuse to come back until Dr. Strang resigns. And what they wanted to do is replace him with somebody who would cover up some of the audit findings that they were finding. So Dr. Strang's like, "I'm not resigning." And I went up there for one of those meetings, and the whole crowd, it was all the employees and union people and just progressive liberals and just this army of people just like screaming for him to resign. And he's like, "If I resign, there's not going to even be enough people sitting on this to make decisions, financial decisions." And in the meantime, Soulfest was in jeopardy, that they were going to have to shut down the whole venue. Meanwhile, in the audit, they found emails between the HR director and Tom Day disparaging Christians and how they hated the venue and how they didn't want it to continue. And then we find out that Tom Day actually canceled the contract for Soulfest, Dan Russell, in a silo. He didn't bring it to the committee. This was helicopters overhead, sorry. This was a 6-year contract left on it, multi-million-dollar contract that Tom Day, the general manager of Soulfest, canceled on Dan Russell. And you see the attorneys like, "Tell us how we can, like, all this money, show us how we can get out of this contract, all this." And Dan Russell's like, "This is $1.5 million venue. It takes me 13 months to plan it, and you're not just going to cancel on me. You at least have to do one more year and kick back some money so that we can find a different venue. And why are we doing that? Like, why would you cancel this venue? We've been here for 15 years." And anyways, you see all that email traffic and all that going on. Tom Day never brought that to the board, the commission. He never brought it to the people who own the mountain to see if that was something that the community even wanted to have canceled. So here we are days before Soulfest this year, and the senior management walks out in a temper tantrum because they don't want to work with the auditors. And then out of nowhere, you have this massive campaign that moves in to disparage all of the legislators, all of the conservatives, all the Republicans, all of our incumbents, everyone that's up there, that they are extremist, and it's like this Belknap for Citizens, which is a PAC money coming out of nowhere, and these progressive liberals, and they're just like signs everywhere, and it's just this huge campaign. And then next thing you know, Sununu does a press release letter disparaging all of our liberty-minded Republican candidates that are up there in the Belknap County. And just to let you know, our Belknap County Committee Republicans were probably the most right, represent the party platform, thorn in the side for Sununu of any other county committee within the state. And they're just a full-on attack over this whole Gunstock thing. And finally, Dr. Strang says verbally, "I'll resign if you get 2 other good people on here to carry this audit through." Mind you, this man is like working in the ER, saving lives. He's exhausted. He had no reason to even put his hat in the ring in all this. He just wants to see the truth be brought to the surface. And he also doesn't want to see Soulfest canceled days before the event. And poor Dan Russell's like, "What's going on? Are they going to keep the venue, not keep the venue?" So we're trying to keep it so everyone can go to Soulfest and get Tom Day back there. But he's using that as leverage And they're totally tweaking the narrative to the general public in the public square. So it's this complete shit show. And I'm sitting here going, what the hell is going on, right? So Dr. Strang verbally says, if you get 2 new people in here, I will consider a resignation and step out. But until then, because he wanted Tom Day and the management team to get back on the scene. So what they do is they hold an emergency meeting outside of the bylaws. And this guy that's in the picture, Doug Lambert, is the chair, says, we're going to take a vote to accept Dr. Strang's resignation, which there was no written resignation. There was nothing formal. And first we're going to appoint this woman that has come from out of state, has lived in 32 different places, and is a progressive liberal with all kinds of extremist stuff on her social media. We're going to appoint her as a replacement for Dr. Strang, and we're going to accept his resignation, and we're going to vote on that and wash our hands. Boom, done. They did that. That's what yesterday's court hearing was about, which I'll get back to that picture. And then they decide to dismantle the audit committee. And then they decide to produce an audit that, again, doesn't have any of the information that the 1959 bylaws and rules for the transaction and the sale of the property to the people requires. So now we're back to an audit that doesn't have any of the details in it. The court hearing, yes, I think it was yesterday. Anyways, the picture that was posted is Doug Lambert, who was the one that said, I motion to accept Dr. Strang's resignation, which there's no paper, there's nothing formal that Dr. Strang was stepping down, and it was only if 2 righteous people took his place. And the delegates that voted to accept Dr. Strang's resignation, which Tim Lang was behind orchestrating all of this on behalf of Governor Sununu. So you go ahead and they vote and they accept Dr. Strang's resignation. So Dr. Strang filed a lawsuit saying that I didn't resign and this was done unlawfully. And the judge ruled, well, you needed to sue everyone who voted on the motion, not on Doug Lambert, who motioned for them to vote on the resignation. So basically, our courts are corrupt, our judges are corrupt. She just found a loophole to kind of weasel her way right out of it. In the meanwhile, Dr. Strang only has like a month left of his commission anyway, and by the time he does an appeal, gets back in front of a court, and he's like, it is what it, I can only fight this fight so much without people showing up who understand and are willing to stand up for what is going on. And so here we are, we've lost Soulfest. Soulfest will not be coming back to Gunstock. So that, is just tragic. And we had a lot of our incumbents not make it through their primary. I know Norm Sibler has asked for 91A information about Soulfest and the venue and the financials to show that it was profitable, and that their excuse that they canceled the contract because they didn't make any money on it is a bunch of smoke up everyone's bum. So, it is what it is, but I want you guys to know the honest truth as to what's going on. Tim Lang has been a state rep. He's going for a state Senate seat. He is someone that Sununu has handpicked. And so that picture is Tim Lang shaking hands with Doug Lambert, who did the motion to accept Dr. Strang's resignation, which doesn't exist, which moved the one righteous person out of making certain that that audit showed the actual numbers of what's going on at the mountain up there in Gunstock. And then Tom Day, who's the general manager who once worked at Waterville, who Sununu owns, basically canceled the Soulfest contract. And then one of the other pictures I showed to you guys was the mountain, the candlelight mountain that shows how many people are there at that venue, and that it was absolutely a profitable event to have every year, super healthy for our community and commerce. And then the picture under that is actually Dan Russell's family home. That Sunday, okay, so the event is Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And Dan said he would do an interview with me to explain, to tell you all what his experience was with Tom Day through the canceling of the Soulfest contract in Gunstock. And we were going to do that on Sunday after the event was over. So we were set up to do that. Next thing I know, I get a phone call. He says, Trace, my family home is on fire. And his family home, the report from the fire department says they think it was struck by lightning. So that could just be a coincidence, but Dan Russell and I are sitting here going, this is what it is. Guys, Mike Gill is saying, Trees, get out of the state. I'm not leaving. I'm not going anywhere. In fact, I'm just going to keep showing up and keep speaking truth. And my eyes are on Jesus. And I have no incentive to lie to anybody. I have no reason to do anything but speak truth and stay principled. And if the good Lord wants to take me home, I'll go home in a blaze of glory. But I am not going to sit quiet and not let you guys know what I'm seeing, what I'm finding, because I think the Lord has put me here for such a time as this. And I would encourage all of you to reach out to Dr. Strang and just let him know he's a warrior and we're proud of him. And to catch his breath, he self-sacrificed a lot of time and energy into the last 8 months. And Washington didn't win a lot of the battles, but he won the war. And we are coming from a place of victory. We are assembling. We are speaking truth. We are going to hold them accountable. And we're not backing down. And we're going to continue to get stronger. And we're going to continue to understand where we need to show up. And, we're going to appeal to heaven. And God is going to show us the way out of this. I truly, truly believe that. Everyone's going to have their tipping point. And what I want, my vision for this group, is when people all of a sudden say, oh my gosh, like we need to come together, strength in numbers, they know where to run to link arms with us. And we're just going to have to be patient and continue, to do what we can in the interim. And we are growing. Every time I look, I'll go and look after this, it was 100,000 people had viewed the group. Now, yesterday it was 102,000. Like, it's growing very quickly, and that's good. That means you guys are getting the word out that things are wrong here in New Hampshire, and the only way we're going to fix it is knowledge is power and holding them accountable. I'm really feeling very strongly in my spirit that I need to be at the executive council meetings peacefully, professionally, but I need to be at the executive council meetings. And the next one is November 2nd. At 10 a.m. at the Capitol, and it's open to the public to come and observe the votes. And what they do is they vote on money. $155 million was voted on in just a few hours' time. And the people that typically show up are there to receive that money. You are walking into a den of thieves, and they're not used to us watching what they're doing. But we have every right to be there and to observe what they're doing. And the executive council is supposed to be representing us, the people. So we need to be there to let them know that we are watching how they're representing us and what they're doing with the money. Is it going to heat sidewalks in Berlin while people can't heat their homes? What exactly is it for $50 million for cell towers that may not be healthy for us? I mean, what is it that they're doing and why are they doing it? So we need to get involved. We're going to reap what we sow. If we don't get involved, don't expect things to get any better. That's all I can say. But I know a lot of you work. You can't do a Wednesday at 10 a.m. I don't expect you to take time off. But if you're retired or you're in a position where you work nights or something else and you're able to do that, I really would encourage you. It's twice a month for a couple hours. State House has a cafeteria. We can grab lunch afterwards. But I think that's going to be a place where it would be really important for we, the people, to show up and participate. I love you all. It was, that picture to me, I looked at it and it made me, one, want to vomit. It was, and then two, it makes me actually really sad for Tim Ling. Because if you look at that picture and the caption, I'll post it again here. It's, these politicians are working within a really, really corrupt framework, guys. And I really, truly believe until, we realize the depth of what's going on here in New Hampshire. The people that are out front, like a Dr. Strang, myself, and Mike Gill, and some of these others that are just like gonna call it for what it is, are really kind of, we need you guys. We need to link arms. We need to come together and assemble. Dean came in. You guys saw the live I did on that, the $44 million to create human organs in Manchester with Jean Shaheen's daughter as the strategic planner. I mean, there's just stuff here, guys. So continue to tune in. If you have questions, I'll continue to post lives. I want you guys to be educated. I want you guys to know what we're up against. And I'm not afraid to speak truth into the stupid and leave the rest up to Jesus to take care of, protect me, and see me through and show me what it is this day He's going to have me do. So, courage breeds courage, bravery breeds bravery, and we are coming from victory. We are coming from victory. George Washington, he had God on his side. He was coming from victory. He may have had his soldiers running barefoot through the snow, but they won the war in the end, and so will we. We will win this, and every knee will bow, and everyone will have to take account for what they did in their time here. And I'm glad. I'm glad I'm on this side of history. I'm glad I'm sitting where I am, being able to speak truth and